afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of the Quarter Deck. This week in our reading with our book, With the 1st Marine Division in Iraq of 2003, No Greater Friend, No Worst Enemy, we're going to continue our story and move on into the day of 20 March of 2003, and what the division prepared themselves to actually clear obstacles for the passage of lines as they worked their way into Iraq with the help of the Kuwaitis. In our hero highlights this week, we will take a look at the story of Private First Class Jacqueline Harold Lucas, United States Marine Corps.
Drop and give me 25. I'm the gunny.
It's time for the gunny. It's time.
The Quarter Deck. Lights. Get online right now. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Hello, my bunch of knuckle-dragging, beer-drinking, hard-charging devil dogs. You're listening to The Quarter Deck. I am your host, Miguel, the Gunny Signs.
Get off the bus!
I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Well, it's adios to October and hello to November. Now, we are here on the 2nd of November. We're so much closer to the Marine Corps birthday. And it's hard to believe that the Marine Corps is now going to be 248 years old since November 10th of 1775, when the birthday is celebrated down there in Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And how bizarre or how rare is it that the Marine Corps was actually born in a bar, in a tavern? You know, because Marines are known for service members that like to go out there and have a good time. They like to go drink and have fun with their fellow Marines in celebrating of the Marine Corps birthday every single year. Now, as a retired Marine, I can tell you guys that we celebrated many, many birthdays. My wife and I, we went to so many birthday balls together, and we were able to see the traditions, the history, everything that goes along with the celebration of the Marine Corps birthday every single year. So next week we will go through that tradition so we understand, and those of you that really don't know exactly what happens in the birthday celebration, you're going to have more of an idea of exactly what goes on and what actually it means to Marines all over the world. On a different note, let me keep you guys up to date here. So the construction in our house is still continuing to move forward, and right now they're waiting for the inspector to come and inspect where they're going to lay new cement and for a new footing of the house for a wall that they're going to add to the house to allow it to give it more support to the trusses and everything on top of the house. So that's what's kind of slowing down the process. And man, I can't tell you guys how much we miss our house, and we want to hurry up and get the heck back because we're tired of being in a rental. Not that we are not grateful for being here inside of a rental and stuff, but you get to miss your home. And the good thing about it is now that we get to go back, and it's going to be fixed and remodified to exactly the way that we originally wanted it. And my wife is going to have the things that she wanted from the get-go to make sure that she has everything that she needs. She was telling me the other day, she's like, I think I'm ready to retire from cooking. I just laughed. I said, no. If we're going to go ahead and redo the whole entire kitchen and you're going to have everything you want inside the kitchen, there is no retirement. There's no retirement plan coming along in this household, because you're going to have to continue to use our kitchen. Well, not just her, because I'm going to use it too and help her with the things that I can to make sure that we continue to have everything that we have inside of our kitchen for us to go ahead and enjoy every single day. But it's just a waiting game. It's, hurry up and wait, because it's not one thing as another. They got to do some things that they did, that they broke, that they got to fix, because now they need to make sure that everything is back in the same way that it was before they decide to go cracking everything around the house that they need to fix now. So that's one of the bigger issues that we're dealing with right now. So right now we're still on track, supposedly, to have everything done come March. Everything to be done and us to be back inside the house. So as far as I know, the architect has told us that there's no delay in the process of everything that needs to be done as far as with the house, and that everything is on schedule right now for it to be completed during that time, which works out for us. I mean, right now we have 10 months up to a year of rental that the insurance company is going to pay for to allow us to continue to stay here in the rental property. So our house can continue to be completed and be finished, but it's just a process. You know, I completely forgot how the process was when we originally built the house, but the difference that I can tell you guys is that it's a lot different me being here watching the house because something happened in our case that it burnt down and I get to see everything piece by piece. And when we were building the house, it was just coming us over here and watching the progress as they laid the foundation down, as they put the walls, the roof, everything. We saw the progress going. And eventually we were going to get the keys to our home and move back into our house. So that's what we're looking forward to right now. We're hoping that, like I said, it gets here sooner than later because it just gets tired of waiting and watching the progress go so slow as we watch everything happen there around the house. But around here, it is starting to be more festive. You know, it's hard to believe because Halloween was yesterday. So Halloween was done, said and done in our house, you know, compared to the way we do it every single year. All of our Halloween decorations, everything was inside of the house, so all that stuff is gone. So we did decorate outside, and we did have a couple of good decorations and everything. I could not use my projections on the windows or anything like that because I just simply don't have the stuff to do that. Luckily, I still have all those files because everything is digital that I still have saved on my external hard drive to ensure that I'm still able to use that. And then once we get back into our house for next year, we will be able to get the cloth that I used on the windows. Chiffon is called, something like that. It's very, very thin, grayish or whitish cloth. It's almost like the kind of cloth that they use to make the veils for the bridal dresses, stuff like that, to do the projection from the rear to be able to put it back up on the windows and be able to use it outside. I think that what I'm going to do next year is that I want to put some of that chiffon into like a framing box or something like that outside and be able to have it in the grass. So it looks like the holograms are walking in the front yard and with the sound of the speaker coming out of it to allow it to be more spooky looking out there walking around in the cemetery or something like that. But that's going to be for next year and we'll see. We'll see how that goes and everything, and then we will get everything done and so forth. So I hope everybody's having a great week and stuff, and they are getting ready for, the year to almost be over with because there's already Christmas stuff already in the stores. Before Halloween was even over, all the Christmas trees, everything was already for sale, and every single store, like, good gosh, can you guys at least let Christmas wait until Halloween and Thanksgiving are over? And then we can start worrying about celebrating the holidays with a big old jolly ho, ho, ho guy. And then we will be ready to go and all that stuff ready and to celebrate the Christmas celebration. So I hope everybody's having a good time. Get ready for the turkey season here. But more importantly, let's all get ready to go ahead and celebrate the birthday of the Marine Corps. Are you looking for a photographer who can capture the most important moments in your life? Look no further than Miguel Saenz Photography. Miguel Saenz is an award-winning photographer with a passion for capturing the beauty and emotions of weddings, family portraits, and special events. With years of experience and a creative eye, Miguel Saenz will create stunning images that you'll treasure for years to come. Whether you're looking for a traditional wedding album, a unique family portrait, or a professional headshot for your business, Miguel Saenz Photography has the expertise to bring your vision to life. From the initial consultation to the final product, Miguel Saenz will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your images reflect your unique style and personality. Don't settle for mediocre photographs that simply document an event. Trust Miguel Saenz Photography to create timeless images that capture the essence of your special moments. Book your session today and experience the magic of Miguel Saenz Photography. Visit Miguel Saenz Photography online at miguelsciencephotography.com to see examples of his work and schedule your appointment today.
What we're going to do right here is go back, way back into time.
Well, President Bush has given Saddam Hussein and their regime an ultimatum to be able to get out of Kuwait within the next 48 hours. And he pretty much called his bluff and he said, screw you, I am not leaving. I am not getting out. So now, last week we talked about the events that occurred on 19 March of 2003 as the division was poised and ready for battle. Today, we're going to go ahead and move on to the 20th of March and see how the division was planning to clear the obstacles for the passage of lines from Kuwait into Iraq with the help of the Kuwaiti Army so they can prepare to actually head into Iraq and liberate the people there from the tyrant, from the dictator, Saddam Hussein. So let's go ahead and get on with our reading of our book and find out exactly what's going to happen with the division now that it's getting ready to head into Iraq. The last-minute Kuwaiti obstacle reductions continued. The Kuwaiti contractors hired for the job were skilled and efficient, but the Iraqis had chosen to make the task more difficult by the occasional mortar attack. Some of these mortar fires were quite well aimed and it caused the Kuwaiti contractors a bit of concern. Alpha Company, 1st Tank Battalion, and Alpha Company, 3rd LAR Battalion reassured the contractors by their presence, and the engineers continued to push to get all the breaching work accomplished in time. Marines rode shotgun on their contractors' equipment using their night vision goggles or NVGs to help guide the efforts. The burn reduction crew even took 2 enemy prisoners prior to the commencement of the ground operations, G-Day. 2 Iraqi border guards had made their way across the border and told a tale of beatings and executions by the regime. The legal status of these defectors was questionable, as they had come into Kuwait prior to the commencement of the ground operations and they were turned over to the Kuwaitis. The last of the breach lanes were cleared just in time to support the division's attack. The Kuwaitis' 26th Brigade in the east of the 35th Brigade in the west manned their positions along the border to detect and indirect any Iraqi infiltration. These units each had reconnaissance and anti-tank missiles element operating well forward in the border obstacle area. In a tense pre-combat environment, conducting a smooth passage of lines, or POL, that avoided fractional was critical. An accident at this point could derail the early momentum of the attack, even before the division crossed that line of departure. Over a 2-day period, the Marines would conduct a smooth RIP, or RIP, with the Kuwaitis at the border. On 19 March, RCT-7 passed forward of the 61st Tank Battalion of the Kuwaitis' 26th Brigade. And on the following day, RCT-5 conducted a passage of the 7th Battalion of Kuwaitis' 35th Brigade. Because of the careful pre-coordination efforts of Major Clark Watson, the division's LNO to the Kuwaiti land forces, the POL at the border was accomplished without incident. A few days later, after the division had passed through, the Kuwaitis occupied forward positions on the border and reassumed their vigilance against the Iraqis' threat and the coalition's rear areas. Tensions along the border remained high, especially for the 11th Marines and a counter-battery fight. With the counter-battery radars in position, the cannon cockers provided responsive fires within minutes. This aggressive, responsive counterfire was a demonstration repeatedly during the ensuing weeks. In one instance, 3rd LAR Battalion under Lieutenant Colonel Stacy Clardy had pushed Alpha Company up to the berm to screen forward of the division's attack positions and the firing PAs of 11th Marines. Captain John Custis' Alpha Company began to receive incoming mortar fire from the Iraqi border guard post across the border and called it in. Before Alpha Company could even get to the snowstorm incoming artillery report over the radio, 11th Marines had detected the enemy mortar fire and engaged with counter-battery artillery. Alpha Company also returned fire, and the division's first direct firefight crossed the international border. Unwisely, the Iraqis initiated the action and were met with a deadly response by the Marines. A combination of indirect fire, 25mm Bushmaster cannon, and a single tow missile destroyed the border guard's post, eliminating the threat. So, now they wanted to go ahead and strike first. So, you strike first, of course there's going to be retaliation back from the Marines, especially the 11th Marines, which, I was part of that unit, the 11th Marines. And because of those incoming artillery, well, not artillery, mortar fire rounds that they were shooting across the border, hey, sometimes they got lucky and they were able to actually aim those things in the right direction. And they got lucky and it hit some of the targets that they were intending to actually hit. So with that being said, as soon as the counter-battery radar detected where these mortar positions were at, hey, it's game over. Because all we're simply going to do is turn the gun around, lay it in the proper azimuth to where the rounds are coming from, and engage those targets to ensure that they will get still on target and destroy whatever target the forward observers that are observing them give us the azimuth, the direction of fire, the elevation, all that stuff that we need in order to engage these enemy. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. In those days when we were preparing to get ready to actually head across the border because our tensions were high, we were just sitting there waiting, eager, concerned, scared, because we didn't know what was going to happen because none of us had ever been put in that kind of situation. But all the training that we did, everything that we conducted was the things that we did to ensure that we were prepared in the event that the United States, our country, our nation, needed us to go ahead and move forward to engage an enemy that is out there. And this was one of those times. The President of the United States had said, hey, this is what's going to happen. If this doesn't happen, my forces are going to go ahead and go in and pull you out of that country to ensure that you're not going to cause any more damage or you're not going to hurt any more people that are there. And that's the whole purpose of why we were there. And that was our mentality during that time, to ensure that we were there to take care of whatever we needed to liberate those people from Saddam Hussein. And I got to tell you guys, with all the waiting, all the anxiety, all those things that we had to do and prepare for, the next day was unknown. You don't know what's going to happen the next time you wake up, or if something's going to happen and you receive an unlucky mortar round that comes into your position and it's going to take out, a couple of Marines, you not going to come home. Those were the mentality and the things that we were thinking about during that time, because it was just us getting ready to go while we were engaging in little small fire mission fires to ensure that the people along the border were still able to conduct their mission and clear the obstacles that were going to allow the rest of the division to go across the border and actually head into Iraq. So that was the main plan. That was the main goal. And that's the only thing we were waiting for. We were waiting for the final word to say, hey, go ahead. Let's go ahead and get across there and go ahead into Iraq and find your way all the way from there, all the way into Baghdad. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about what we actually did, where the 11th Marines was assigned to, and the kind of missions that the 11th Marines had to conduct in order to prepare themselves to engage the Iraqi Army, the regime, and remove them from Iraq. Hero highlight. Private First Class Jacqueline Harrow Lucas, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Jacqueline Harrow Lucas earned the Medal of Honor during the Iwo Jima campaign for unhesitantly hurling himself over his comrades upon one grenade and pulling another one under himself, absorbing the whole blasting force of the explosions with his own body. Private First Class Lucas, the youngest Marine ever to receive the nation's highest military decoration, was presented the award by President Harry S. Truman at the White House on Friday, 5 October 1945. Jacqueline Harrow Lucas was born in Plymouth, North Carolina, 14 February 1928. He attended high school in nearby Salmsburg and was captain of the football team. He was an all-around sportsman, also taking part in baseball, softball, basketball, boxing, wrestling, horseback riding, trap and skeet shooting, and hunting. Although only 14 years of age, 5 feet, 5 1/2 inches high, weighing 158 pounds, he enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve with his mother's consent on 6 August of 1942. He gave his age as 17 and went to Parris Island, South Carolina for recruit training. During his rifle training, Private Lucas qualified as a sharpshooter. He was next assigned to Marine Barracks, U.S. Naval Air Station, Jacksonville, Florida. In June 1943, he was transferred to the 21st Replacement Battalion at New River, North Carolina, and 1 month later he went to the 25th Replacement Battalion, where he successfully completed schooling which qualified him as a heavy machine gun crewman. He left the United States on 4 November 1943, and the following month he joined the 6th Base Depot of the V Amphibious Corps at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. He was advanced to Private First Class on 29 January 1944. With statements to his buddies that he was going to join a combat organization, PFC Lucas walked out of camp on 10 January 1945 wearing a khaki uniform and carrying his dungarees and field shoes in a roll under his arm. He was declared absent without leave, AWOL, when he failed to return that night, and a month later, when there was still no sign of him, he was declared a deserter, and a reward offered for his apprehension. He was also reduced to the rank of private at that time. He stowed away on board the USS Duel, which was transporting units of the 5th Marine Division into combat. He surrendered to the senior troop officer present on 8 February, dressing in neat, clean dungarees. He was allowed to remain, and shortly after he was transferred to Headquarters Company, 5th Marine Division. He reached his 17th birthday while at sea, 6 days before he earned the Medal of Honor. On the day following the landing at Iwo Jima, he was creeping through a twisting ravine with 3 other men of his rifle team when the Japanese opened a hand grenade attack on them. The men jumped into 2 shallow foxholes. A grenade landed in Private Lucas's foxhole, and he threw his body over it. Another one came hurling in, and he reached down and pulled it beneath himself shortly before the explosion occurred, which lifted him off the ground and blew parts of his clothing into the air. He was left for dead by his companions, although he was miraculously still alive, severely wounded in his right arm and wrist, right leg, and thigh, and chest. Private Lucas had undoubtedly saved his companions from serious injury and possible death. He was evacuated and treated at various field hospitals prior to his arrival at San Francisco, California on 28 March 1945. The mark of desertion was removed from his record in August of that year while he was patient at the U.S. Naval Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina. He was discharged from the Marine Corps Reserve because of disability resulting from his wounds on 18 September 1945, following his reappointment to the rank of Private First Class. Mr. Lucas passed away on 5 June 2008 in Hattiesburg, Mississippi at the age of 80 after a battle with cancer. He was buried in Highland Cemetery in Hattiesburg 4 days later. In addition to the Medal of Honor, Private First Class Lucas was awarded the Purple Heart, Presidential Unit Citation, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 1 Bronze Star, American Campaign Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal. The quarterdeck. It seems like the Iraqi Army is starting to get a little bit hesitant on what the division is actually doing across the border now that they have continued to remove all the barricades and everything that were put in place at the border of Kuwait and Iraq. Now, because the division has been out there going and removing all of these obstacles with the help of the Kuwaitis, they fired a couple of pop shots. They shot mortar fire out there to kind of slow them down or try to scare them away from the border. And this week, we found out that the division is now using counter battery to go ahead and engage those mortar positions. And now, since the Iraqis wanted to be the ones to initiate things and go ahead and fire first, they have no idea what is there that's going to be coming here to them in the near future. And we'll talk more about that next week when we talk about how the division started in preparing and moving towards the attack when they head down there into Kuwait. In our hero highlights, we did talk about a young Marine We talked about Private First Class Jacqueline Harold Lucas. Now, even though he did go AWOL without permission, he was gone, became a deserter, he was still able to get into the fight. And that deserter status was removed from his record, and he did earn that Congressional Medal of Honor. You know, when you look at all these citations and we start looking at everything that these young Marines did from that generation of the World War I, World War II, the Korean conflict, all those areas, we can see the dedication and the love that they had for the Marine Corps, but not only for the Marine Corps, but for those Marines to the left and right of them. And it's so great that we get to celebrate the Marine Corps birthday this month, and that we're able to remember the history and the things that they did in their past, in their history, so that way Marines today, past, future, will continue to live those same traditions and enjoying the history of everything that they went through and what they did for us. Again, I want to go ahead and thank all my loyal listeners. Thank you guys so much for continuing to join me here every single week. Do not forget to share the podcast. And if you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do so you're notified as soon as the episode is posted, so you're able to download it and go ahead and listen to it at your earliest convenience. As a reminder, remember that all our podcast is now available on all the podcasting applications. It is now being broadcasted out through Spotify, so you're able to find it everywhere as long as you just Google the podcast, The Quarterdeck with Gunny Signs. You will not miss a single episode. As a reminder, do not forget to join us on our Facebook page, The Quarterdeck with Gunny Signs. Feel free to leave any comments, any messages, and as well as remember that if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, you will be able to take advantage of our poll and our weekly questions that are on there to allow to participate on questions so we can go ahead and talk about them the next and following week. So until next week, I hope that you guys enjoy the weekend, spend time with the family as we get closer and closer to celebrating the Marine Corps birthday. So until next week, this is Miguel, the Gunny Signs, sounding Liberty Call.
Get out the bus!
I do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.